Thank you. We will now move to questions. Dr. Martell, INDOPACOM has pieced together the Joint Fires Network in the absence of a JADC2 solution or operational capability. How would you elaborate on how your organization, what you've done to contribute to the JFN?
Absolutely.
And by extension, INDOPACOM command and control? I guess put differently, how do you see the Joint Operating System and CDAO's JADC2 efforts fitting into the JFN?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Chairman Gallagher. We work hand in hand with INDOPACOM, with ARNI and INDOPACOM, with research and experimentation, and INDOPACOM on JFN. The underlying data layer, which drives the right data to JFN to be able to make the decisions, to be able to close chains, comes from the CDAO. Some of it was theirs already, but they needed a whole bunch more. We have a team that sits with them, and when they need more data, we help find that data, we help deliver that data, and we help make sure that data is there at speed and scale so that they can use it on a regular basis. So they were a key part of our last guide experimentation, and it was in INDOPACOM, and the success and some failures in that experimentation was due to that partnership. I'm happy to go into deeper about exactly what worked and what didn't work in the closed session, but we're tightly aligned.
Can you elaborate, taking a step back, just elaborate for us lay people on the difference between the Joint Operating System and the data integration layer?
I would say the Joint Operating System is part of the data integration layer. So think about the data integration layer as two major components: a catalog to help you find where data is, and APIs that allow that data to be served. That's really what it is. And that data has to obviously sit on a cloud somewhere, so the work with CIO is really important there. So the data is in the right cloud place. The data has an API that allows an application builder to access that data when needed, and it's discoverable. And not only is it discoverable, when it's discovered, it's understood. So there is metadata that describes what that data means, how that data is used, and how that might be ingested into an application that's being built. JOS does specific things that we had originally contracted them for, and they are now part of that data integration layer. They have data that they're providing. The Anduril has data that they're providing. That's part of that has an API layer and is discoverable through that centralized catalog. So you want to think about the data integration layer as a multi-vendor heterogeneous entity that really is the data that's needed is discoverable and accessible. And so that's what we're driving forward.
And then in PB25, it says that the JOS is moving to production. I like the idea of CDAO using all sorts of acquisitions authority to move rapidly, taking commercial technology like the JOS through prototyping and into production. But could you elaborate more on how you see the JOS in production?
I may have to take that for the record, or for the closed session, because I don't actually know specifically what we can talk about, what it delivers. But so they deliver, and my team can tell me if I'm allowed to now, but they delivered specific information that was necessary for the Joint Fires Network. It's their hardware that's distributed, it's Anduril's hardware that's distributed across the INDOPACOM theater that allows that data to flow easily. And it's discoverable through our catalog and through our sets of APIs. I think I didn't answer the question more specifically than I did before. Sorry about that.
And you're leaving soon. As you look back, what are the metrics that you would judge your tenure on?
Massive increase in demand for getting it right. We just did a presentation across the whole department about the current state of JADC2 and the successes that we had. A year ago, there were a lot of, I don't know what this means, I don't know what you mean by getting the data right, I don't know what you mean by having the data accessible to the warfighter at the right time in the right place. That's now well understood. CJADC2, I was very pleasantly surprised. There's no longer an ambiguity, at least within our org, about what CJADC2 is. It isn't a thing. It isn't a system, and it isn't even a destination. It's a set of behavioral patterns and the underlying data flows to support those behavioral patterns. I mean, CJADC2 is command and control for the 21st century. You do command and control in the 21st century by the right flow of data. The demand for that data flowing correctly has, not quite exponentially, but geometrically increased, I would say, over the last year and a half. And if there's a win that I'm strongly willing to claim, it's that.
And in the 7 seconds I have left, how would you respond just to the articles about the poor command climate surveys?
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, that's a great question and a really important one. We did a very hard task. We took 4 organizations, we merged them to get 4 with very distinct cultures, and we had to break a lot of expectations in doing that. There were lots of people who wanted to do particular things, and we said, yeah, no, we're going to look for economies of scale, and we're going to do these things instead. That's a monumental task for any merger and acquisition, and it's going to upset some people. We've worked really hard over the last year to work with some industrial partners on getting our culture right, on making sure that our teams are being heard, that communication flows better. We did sort of bias execution, maybe to the expense of communication with our people in the beginning, and I own that. I'm looking forward to next month when the new Pulse surveys are released, because I feel confident that they'll say good things.
Thank you. Mr. Connors.